Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We resume our study today of the great women of India. I would like to refer at this point to a question that one of our younger sisters had asked. She compares the situations that we have been studying all these weeks with what prevails in the society today, and kind of questions the role of women, the role that women played as only secondary to their husbands. This younger sister is a little pained and says, whatever we talk about all these women, the great names we narrate and quote, these women were only secondary to their husbands. And goes on to ask as to why the very well-known Itihasa, Ramayana, has only been called Ramayana. Why was it not called Sitayana? My dear younger sister, what's in a name? The Indian ancient wisdom did not give much importance to the names. It is the content which is important. But then I'm also tempted to answer from Adi Kavi Valmiki. In a particular place, Valmiki says, his own wish to name the Itihasa by a different name. Some of the rishis ask him, what kind of an Itihasa is this? The Itihasa that you have composed, the Kavya that you have composed, this Kavya talks about the greatness of Rama. At which point Valmiki says, I would say this is a Kavya not about the greatness of Rama, but then this is a Kavya about the greatness of Sita. He says, Sitaya Charitam Mahat. This is Sita's Charitam and not an ordinary Charitam, but then it is a Mahat Charitam. It is a great history. It is a great story. It is a great epic of Sita. For various reasons, the entire Itihasa has been known as the Ramayana. Please remember, Ramayana is not a very specific name. I would say it is a generic name. You know why? The references in the Valmiki Ramayana indicate that Valmiki initially called it Paulasya Charita. Why was he calling it Paulasya Charita? Is because Ravana was the grandson of sage Pulastya and thus becomes Paulastya. The Tamil version of Ramayana, which I had quoted in the previous weeks, the Kamba Ramayana, is commonly referred to as the Kamba Ramayana. But then Kamba himself called it Ramavataram, meaning the incarnation of Rama. Tulsi, who authored the Ramacharita-manas, you all know, named it Ramacharita-manas and not Ramayana. The common people gave a generic name to the entire story and called it Ramayana, meaning the path of Rama. That does not mean Sita is credited at a lower level. It is in fact the story of Sita. It is in fact the greatness of Sita that accords more greatness to Rama. We all know Sita was the dear foster daughter of King Janaka. She marries Rama and comes to be at Ayodhya, at which time, due to the boons of Kaikeyi, Rama was to go on exile. Sita decides to follow him. In fact, in the same Valmiki Ramayana, there is a particular scene in which the sage Vasishta, the preceptor of the Ikshvaku clan, is trying to dissuade Sita from accompanying Rama. Sita is adamant. She says, I want to go with Rama. And the preceptor says, Amma Sita, you don't have to go with him. The command only orders Rama to go on an exile for 14 years, not you. And I would request you to take over the reins of rule of the kingdom. And you, as the legal inheritor of Rama, will now have to rule over the kingdom. This statement by the preceptor is found in the southern recension of the Valmiki Ramayana. Sita, therefore, was considered capable of ruling the country even better than Rama would do. There is a beautiful scenario that I would want to recollect here. This scenario, with minor modifications, is found in most of the South Indian Ramayanas, the Ramayanas of Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and so on. It is the marriage scene. We all know how Sita got married, right? So after the yajna was over, the yajna that King Janaka was performing, it is only in this yajna that the Dhanush, the Shiva Dhanush, is kept in puja, and it is this Shiva Dhanush that was to be used the right way, and Rama did it. All that part of the story we know, we don't have to go into those details. The marriage is also fixed. Once the marriage is fixed, King Dasharatha and his queens and the rest of the clan from Ayodhya will have to come to Mithila because the Kalyanam is to be performed. So all of them arrive, and along with them, Vasishta also comes. Who is Vasishta? Vasishta is the preceptor of the Ikshvaku clan, the Ikshvaku race, to which Rama belongs. So all of them are there in a large assembly, and now none of them have seen Sita. The king or the emperor, Dasharatha, has not seen Sita. The three queens have not seen Sita. The brothers who have come, Bharata, Shatrughna, they have not seen. and people who have come from Ayodhya have not seen, and Vasishtha himself has not seen. So what normally happens, just imagine a kind of a marriage sequence like this, even today. What normally happens, the marriage is fixed between this boy and the girl. The groom's party has arrived, and the groom's party would want to look at the bride, right? So some elder in the groom's party will say, please bring the bride and let's all have a look at the bride or the bride to be. So now the preceptor says, please bring the bride to be here. Let's have a look at the bride to be, because she's going to become the queen of our kingdom. The future queen, we would want to look at her, see her. Please bring her to this assembly. And Sita is decorated by her friends and brought. Sita is beauty impersonified, but nevertheless, it is customary to decorate even Mahalakshmi when she comes in for an audience like this. So Sita is decorated by her friends and then Sita is brought. So Sita walks in to that assembly. A large assembly where people from Mithila are there, people from Ayodhya, people of Mithila know Sita. They have seen Sita. There's no surprise to them. But then people of Ayodhya have not seen Sita, and that's going to be a surprise. So she walks in. When she walks in, all of them are joyous. Dasharatha looks at her. What a beautiful damsel. The queens are all happy. How lovely she looks. And the people of Ayodhya, what a beautiful, suitable bride she would make to our Prince Rama. You know, they're all happy, they're all proud. She will be an equal match to Rama. She is beautiful and he is handsome. All this discussion goes on. You know, some women there in that Ayodhya party are saying, see, she's so pretty. And some other women are saying, she is pretty, but then Rama is handsome. Because they think it is Rama who belongs to their place. So the usual kind of mischievous comments here and there. And one woman says, she needs to have 1,000 eyes to see Rama because Rama is so handsome. Rama is very handsome, so she will not be sufficient with 2 eyes. She would require 1,000 eyes. At which point, one other woman retaliates, Rama, to see Rama, to behold Rama, she would require 1,000 eyes totally. But then you know what she is? The kind of beauty that she has? Every second that Rama beholds her, he will have to have 1,000 eyes, which means 1,000 into, you can multiply what number of times he is going to behold Sita. When all this is happening, there is one person making a beautiful statement. And this particular person knows Rama is none other than Vishnu incarnated. Who is that? Who else? Sage Vasishtha. Sage Vasishtha knows everything. He knows the past, he knows the future. He knows Rama is none else than Vishnu himself. Because when Dasharatha was to perform the Putra Kameshti Yajna, Vasishtha stands there and then recounts something like a flashback. Oh, the time for Putra Kameshti. And once the Putra Kameshti Yajna is performed, Mahavishnu will come down as Rama. So Vasishtha knows it is Mahavishnu who is Rama. That Vasishtha now makes a comment. When all the women are talking, so beautiful Sita is, and Sita will add glory to Rama, and such, comments making rounds, at which point Vasishta says, I knew Rama is Vishnu, but then it was not confirmed. 95% I knew Rama is Vishnu. Now I have the confirmation. This is 100% definite that Rama is Vishnu. You know why? She is Mahalakshmi. If she is Mahalakshmi, he will have to be Mahavishnu. If Mahalakshmi descends, then Mahavishnu will have to follow. That is what Vasishta says. திருமகள் இவள் என்றால் திருமால் அவன். What better statement do we need to tell us about the greatness of Sita? These women whom we have been looking at appeared to be playing a secondary role to their husbands. But they, in fact, were the root cause for the greatness of those men too. Take, for instance, Lopamudra. Lopamudra is a personality whom we meet in the Vedic literature and also in the Mahabharata. She was the Dharmapatni of sage Agastya. Of course, her story is a little cheeky. Lopamudra was born to the king of Vidarbha by the grace of sage Agastya. The king of Vidarbha did not have issues and wanted one and sought the blessings of Agastya because people told him if Agastya blesses, you would definitely have your wish fulfilled. So the king and the queen sought Agastya. Agastya also blessed them to have a progeny, but then with a rider. He said, if your child happens to be a girl of immaculate beauty and immaculate wisdom, I would request you to give me the girl in marriage. You know, when they did not have children and wanted a child, the king and the queen did not bother about the statement of Agastya. Their primary focus was to have a child. So they said, fine. And then by the grace of Agastya, they got a child, a girl child, a beautiful girl, a very knowledgeable girl, and the girl grew up as a princess. Since they did not have any other child, they brought her up not only as a princess, but then a kind of a de facto prince. She learnt all arts. She was trained in archery. And she knew everything. A wise girl, wise damsel, she blossomed too. And when the right time came, when she was of the marriageable age, the father and the mother did not think of it until then. Suddenly, Agastya appeared one day. Of course, he is a rishi who knows everything, right? So he came at the right moment and said, I seek the hands of this girl, as I told you the other day. The king and the queen were grief-struck. They did not want to give their daughter in marriage to a sage like Agastya. Agastya did not have prosperity. He did not have a kingdom. He was, after all, a sage living almost a nomadic life, traveling from one forest to another, sleeping under the tree, not having proper clothing, not having any house to live upon. And this girl, who had been brought up as the princess of the emperor of Vidarbha, would she have to go there and live with him in the forest? They tried dissuading Agastya, but then Agastya would not listen. And they were a little scared because Agastya could equally be fearful in cursing them. They dreaded his curse. So what they now tried was to go and tell the daughter, do not agree to go with him. Kind of, dissuade him. Lopamudra looked at everything. She came back to the parents and told them, I would go with him as his wife. Get me married to him. They were crying. She said, he is a great sage. And if you trust me in my wisdom, I would make a very good wife to him. Not only that, we would make an excellent couple. I would not want my country to suffer if only a sage is disturbed and annoyed. He could pronounce a curse on the country, and I would not want my people to suffer. As the princess of this country, I have all the rights to ensure that my country is safe and secure. And let me do that. That is my responsibility. Please get me married to Sage Agastya. Lopamudra was married to Sage Agastya. She not only performed all her duties as a Dharmapatni, her duties as a wife, as a dutiful wife would have to do, help the husband, but she also grew up in stature that she complemented his greatness. She wanted children, and Agastya asked her how many children would she want. She just stood there, not responding to that question. Agastya continued his question. Do you want 1,000 sons or 100 equaling the 1,000 or 10 equaling the 100 or 1 equaling the 10? She just looked at him and said, one son who would beget all the values that we have collected until now and be a beacon light to the world. Agastya and Lopamudra had one son who brought down the values to the world. Lopamudra's greatness does not stop there. Lopamudra was an excellent companion to Agastya. She was not only a Grihni, but then she was a good Sakhi. A Sakhi in emotions, a Sakhi in life, a Sakhi in sacrifice, a Sakhi in worship, a Sakhi in wisdom, and a Sakhi in enlightenment. Why do we think so? Agastya was a worshipper of Mother Goddess, and he had his initiation into Shakti worship by Lord Hayagriva. It was Lord Hayagriva who imparted the Lalita Sahasranama to Agastya, and it is thought that Agastya brought it down to the world and make it spread along. The 1,000 names of Mother Goddess Lalitambika. There is also another Namavali on Mother Goddess Lalita, and this does not have 1,000 names, it has just 300 names, and the entire work is called Lalita Trishadi. It has 3 Shata Namavali, so it's called Lalita Trishadi. The story about the genesis of Lalita Trishadi is interesting. It is the same sage Lord Hayagriva, and it is the same sage Agastya, the Guru and the Sishya. When the Guru is about to impart Lalita Trishadi to the disciple, he says, fetch Lopamudra. Only when Lopamudra is with you, you become fit enough to receive the Lalita Trishadi. And along with Lopamudra, you will take this and spread it around. So Lopamudra was the one who accorded greatness to Agastya. She was the one who made Agastya complete. That is why the Vedas say that the woman, the form of woman, the appearance of woman was created to make the entire cosmos complete. In other words, completeness to something, purnatvam to something, is given only by the feminine form or the women. That is why women were secondary to their husbands on one side. On the other side, they were also giving completeness to the lives of those men. They were complete and they were making others complete. Let us get back to the life of Sita herself to understand this better. Rama, we look at him as a complete man. But then Rama's greatness is added upon by the greatness that Sita gave him. Sita was in the Ashokavana. She was surrounded by a big bunch of Rakshasis. Adikavi Valmiki's description of the Rakshasis is very, very scary. The Rakshasis, we just cannot imagine how they looked. A Rakshasi would not have eyes where the eyes should be, but then have the ears there. Another Rakshasi probably would have the stomach in the place of the mouth. And another one would have the head itself elsewhere in the body. You can imagine how that appearance would be. Very scary appearance. And such Rakshasis were surrounding Sita. They were all threatening her. And anyone else in that place would be irritated with the Rakshasis. Day in and day out, these Rakshasis were threatening, were screaming, were telling her that she would have to accept Ravana and things like that. And then, of course, after some time, Hanuman comes and she's a little relieved, getting some good news from Rama that he would come and save her. And then Hanuman says, Amma, take care, we will come back and all that, and he goes away. And after some time, the Yuddha between Rama and Ravana starts. She gets information about the Yuddha also from some of the Rakshasis and of course from Trijata, who's there. And ultimately, the Yuddha gets over, Ravana is killed, Rama is victorious, and Hanuman comes back with the information that Rama is victorious. And after some time, Vibhishana comes, says, please come back. Rama has asked you to come there. Now, in that span, just before Vibhishana arrives, when Anjaneya has already come and told her that Rama had been victorious, Anjaneya also places a request. He asks her, Amma, now that all the Rakshasa warriors are dead, the Rakshasa clan is dead there. These Rakshasis around you are sitting. They have been threatening you, troubling you, torturing you, harassing you. Amma, just give me one permission. Let me kill all these Rakshasi women. That's a natural reaction, right? They have been giving you troubles, so we now can kill them. You know what she says? No, Anjaneya. No. These were only arrows. And these arrows were sent by Ravana. There is no point destroying the arrows when the person who aimed the arrows was elsewhere. No, these are poor things. These poor Rakshasis, never think of harming them. Let them live happily. She did not want to take revenge. She did not want to give harm to those who harmed her. The kind of compassion and generosity that she had. Even to Ravana, she exhibited some kind of compassion. Every time Ravana approached her when she was in the Ashokavana and spoke words which should not have been spoken to her, she would only tell him, rather plead to him that he should think of Rama, he should think of goodness to himself, and he should think of goodness to his clan. Even when she was there in Ashokavana, she would kind of tell Ravana, please now subdue all your interests. Even now, let Rama know that you are prepared to let me go. Rama will definitely do good to you. Would a woman do that? She has been kept captive, and to the person who captured her, she preaches goodness. She tells him to do good things. She did not want to take revenge, even on Ravana. And we see that wholesome Sita, who was sitting in the Ashokavana, performing penance, thinking all the time of Rama, and not spelling any single curse on anyone there. I once again go back to Kambaramayan. Two instances from Kambaramayan I would want all of us to think now. The first scene is when Anjaneya asks Sita, Amma, please ascend on my shoulders. I would take you to Rama. And that would be all that. You can immediately reach Rama. You don't have to be here. Of course, she gives her own reason for not doing that. She says, I cannot ascend on your shoulders. Being in this form, the whole world will think that a woman ascending on the shoulders of another man. No, that cannot be done. But at which point she also says one more thing. She asks Anjaneya a question. Anjaneya, you think I could not have destroyed Lanka? In these 10 months, you think I could not have destroyed Lanka? You think I could not have pronounced a curse on Ravana? You think I could not have saved myself? Friends, please think of these questions. Sita was Mahalakshmi incarnate. You think that she could not have pronounced a curse? If only she had pronounced a curse on Ravana, Ravana would have died. Mandodari would have died. Lanka would have been burnt. When Ravana kept fire on the tail of Anjaneya, Anjaneya thought of Sita. This fire, Amma Sita, this fire should not kill me because I still have to do something more. And when Trijata told Sita that Anjaneya's tail had been lit with fire, Sita at that moment thought of Agni Deva and told Agni Deva, Agni, do not do anything to him. Do not harm him. Do not do any harm to him. If I am perfect, if I am pure, let that fire not do any harm to Anjaneya. And the fire did not do any harm to Anjaneya. We all know the story. That kind of caliber she had. And now thinking back of those questions, could she not have pronounced a curse? If she could stop Agni Deva, could she not have pronounced a curse on Ravana or Lanka? She could have. If she had done that, Lanka would have been burnt much before Anjaneya kept fire on Lanka. She controlled herself. Why did she control? Because she wanted Rama to win and she wanted all the credit to go to Rama. That does not mean she was lesser, but then she controlled her capacity to add to the capacity of Rama. The second sequence, which I want us to think now, involves Anjaneya and Rama. Anjaneya comes back after seeing Sita there, being safe, talking to her. He comes back to tell Rama that Sita is safe. So he wants to tell him that Sita is safe. He comes there and stands and makes a statement. He says, you know whom I saw there? I saw the daughter of Janaka. I saw the daughter-in-law of King Dashratha. And I saw your wife. These three levels, the daughter, the daughter-in-law, and the wife. These three levels, he narrates. He says, Un perum devi ennum urimaikkum, உன்னை பெற்ற மண் பெரும் மருகி என்னும் வாய்மைக்கும் தன் பெரும் தனையை என்னும் தலைமைக்கும் தகமை சான்றாள். Fine. I saw your wife, உன் பெரும் தேவி. உன்னை பெற்ற மண் பெரும் மருகி, your father's daughter-in-law. தன்னை பெற்றவன், Janakan, the daughter of Janaka. All that is fine, but you know whom I saw? என் பெரும் தெய்வம் ஐயா. He says, Raman, I saw my great goddess there. I did not see Sita there, but I saw my great goddess. What does it mean? It is a kind of a comparison. Until now, you were my God, Rama. Until now, until the time I saw Sita, you were my God. But the moment I saw Sita, you are my God, but she is a greater goddess. You know the story where we draw a line and draw another line where this line becomes shorter. Now Rama becomes shorter. Rama is dwarfed because of the tallness of Sita. And that is what is the tallness of the great women of India. Sita is one example. We do have other examples in so many of our epics and itihasas and shastras. We do believe that Sitas are born again and again. Sambhavami yuge yuge. And let's get to see some of these women in the coming weeks. Thank you.